We're going to seize their yachts, their luxury homes, and other ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy.
Sounds like he's suffocating. You think he'll be okay? Good evening! Our top story tonight. President Biden forms his Ministry of Truth, aka the Disinformation Governance Board. What is the Ministry of Truth? And what does it mean to your freedom of speech? How is it connected to Obama? And who is this delightful woman that's in charge of it? And why did Hitler have a Ministry of Truth too? We'll answer all these questions for you tonight as we tell you what to think with a full episode of Lies You Can Trust. But first,
of Putin's kleptocracy.
It's not like he has a job that requires high levels of cognition and communication. I mean, he's the president, not a grocery store clerk. But rest assured, this is the faithful leader that you are gladly surrendering your First Amendment right to freedom of speech to as you bow down to his Ministry of Truth. Because disinformation results in precisely 0 deaths, the Biden administration knew it was time to reverse these statistics and thus formed the Disinformation Governance Board. It's here to protect you from dangerous things like disinformation, words, differing political views, and giant jellyfish. All they need to do to protect you is take away your First Amendment right to speak freely and hear other people speak freely. It's kind of like the best way to save a drowning person is to take away their right to breathe. Here, hold the cinder block for a second. Where are you going? Well, maybe when Leah Thomas is done with her prostate exam, she'll swim down and save you. Our world-class journalism shows that Biden's Ministry of Truth, which is formed in order to prevent false narratives from being spoken while propagating the truth, is comprised of people who tell you men can get pregnant. So you know right off the bat that you'd be stupid not to surrender your right to free speech in order to be protected by these honest people. But what Americans want to know is, who will be running the Ministry of Truth? Well, the U.S.'s first chief propaganda officer is Nina Jankowicz. Here she is describing to the American people her intentions in running the Disinformation Governance Board.
I want to be rich, famous, and powerful.
Same for Fauci. Early polling shows that 100% of all Americans support the formation of the Ministry of Truth and support Nina Jankowicz running it, because the Disinformation Governance Board has deemed anything else to be disinformation. Now let's take a closer look at the person who has the job of telling you what's true and telling you what's false.
Informational honoring is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. When Rudy Giuliani shared that intel from Ukraine, or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain.
She is an absolute delight. And it says here the White House defends the Disinformation Board, saying it's apolitical and nonpartisan, even though Nina Jankowicz supports Hillary Clinton. This just in! The Disinformation Governance Board has ruled that it's disinformation to say that the Disinformation Governance Board isn't nonpartisan. Oh, and when Trump was in office, the head of the board, Nina, said she would never want to see the executive branch with the kind of power to determine what's true. Watch.
Imagine that, with President Trump right now calling all of these news organizations that have inconvenient for him stories that they're getting out there that he's calling fake news and now lashing out at platforms. I would never want to see our executive branch have that sort of power.
Nonpartisan people, get it through your skulls. And in an act of graceful nonpartisanness, Nina has already said, online mockery of Kamala Harris is a threat to democracy and national security. That's right, people. Would you quit mocking the most mockable human on planet Earth? She is a respectable leader. Oh, and here's Kamala Harris explaining in great detail the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
So Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So Basically, that's wrong.
Wait, Ukraine is a what?
Ukraine is a country.
Oh, country, yes. She's your vice president. She just goes so fast and in so much detail that she's hard to keep up with. Right, Nina? Now that's a look you can trust. And here's Hitler's disinformation chief, Joseph Goebbels. And I don't know about you, but each of them evokes the same warm, fuzzy feeling of altruistic trust inside of me. Moving along. In addition to the Biden administration, throughout history, there's also been other governments who have formed propaganda arms in order to dictate to their citizens what's true and what's false. Oddly enough, they've all been dictatorships, but not Biden's Ministry of Truth. His is here to save democracy. Just like how the best way to save a starving person is to put them on a prolonged fast. Because fasting's good for you, is what we'd tell them. And here are some examples of other governments that have created ministries of truth. Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. And specifically working under Hitler was Joseph Goebbels, the Reich Minister of the Nazi Party from 1933 to 1945. He helped kill 6 million people. Joseph Stalin in the Soviet Union. He helped kill an estimated 20 million people. And of course, Joseph Biden. But his propaganda arm is different. Because unlike every other time in history that one's been used, he's using his propaganda arm to save the lives of people. There sure are a lot of Josephs in that list. But enough of the coincidences. As disinformation has resulted in 0 deaths, and ministries of truth have resulted in millions of deaths, our leftist logic can only conclude that in order to save more lives, we need more ministries of truth. This is one aspect of Hitler's government that Biden has decided to copy. And remember, Hitler's Ministry of Truth convinced a nation full of people that he was just building back better too. Now the naysayers kind of give Hitler a bad rap and say that what he was doing was bad and evil, and therefore Biden shouldn't be following in his footsteps in any regard. Well, here's what they don't understand. Hitler used a ministry of truth because he's evil. Biden's using a ministry of truth because he's good. And his ministry of truth will prevent you from saying anything other than he's good. Make sense? Well, what does Tulsi Gabbard have to say about the Disinformation Governance Board? I imagine she's a fan. Let's find out.
How do you feel about the Ministry of Truth?
This is the kind of thing that you see in dictatorships, this Ministry of Truth, this Department of Propaganda that the Biden administration has just stood up. And the reason why you see this in dictatorships is because they're afraid of us. They're afraid of the people. They're afraid that we might actually think for ourselves.
Well, that sounds just like all disinformation. And Tulsi Gabbard is so untrustworthy that the DNC had to sabotage her run for president because she's not controllable. She's a Democrat that's unwilling to just go along with the narrative that other Democrats propagate. Obviously, you should not trust anything she says because she is a principled person, not a useful idiot. And Obama does not like that kind of person. Speaking of Obama, here's what Biden's boss had to say.
While content moderation can limit the distribution of clearly dangerous content, it doesn't go far enough.
Democrat Tulsi Gabbard, who the Democrats hate, once again points out, Biden is just a front man. Obama, on April 21st, says social media censors don't go far enough. So the government needs to step in and do the job. 6 days later, Homeland Security rolls out the Ministry of Truth, aka the Disinformation Governance Board. What she and other misinformed right-wing nutjobs, who are Democrats, don't know is a democracy is where you have elected leaders being controlled by unelected leaders, who can then take away citizens' right to free speech. I mean, I love a good old-fashioned democracy. Don't you? Now let's check in and see how the Lions are complying with Biden's Ministry of Truth. Well, free thinking is obviously the next pandemic we have to defeat, and we're working on it now. That's it for today's news. The Ministry of Truth is here to help. Now believe what we tell you and quit thinking for yourself. It's the law. Welcome to 1984. Good night! I don't know what kind of plant this is, but I do know I would love to have you join me on my Awaken Warrior newsletter email list. It ensures we stay connected in the face of growing censorship. You can join me behind the scenes at awakenwithjp.com/join me. I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Primal Life Organics, and their LED light teeth whitening system. Now, Hunter Biden, if you're watching this, I know you don't have teeth. this product isn't for you. But if you have teeth and you're not a crack addict, this product might be for you. When I was 20, I went on a hero's journey, wanting whiter teeth, but not knowing how to get them. I landed at the foothills in the Himalayas, and I studied under the counsel of the Dalai Lama for the next 65 years. And after mastering the understanding of what the sound of one hand clapping is, which is pretty simple, I finally connected to my truth, which is Primal Life Organics is the teeth whitening system for me. And I must say, for being 175 years old, I think it helps me look younger. And trust me, there's no disinformation in that story. But a lot of people want whiter teeth, and you might be one of them. But the problem with normal teeth whitening products is they're unnatural, filled with chemicals which damage your body and damage your teeth while they whiten your teeth. The Dalai Lama told me that doesn't make sense to me based on what he thinks I think. And I think he's right, because I like to have a healthy body and I have natural healthy values. But Primal Life Organics is the first teeth whitening system that works for me because it doesn't use harmful chemicals that are bad for you or your teeth. Instead, it uses an LED light teeth whitening mouthpiece and a food grade teeth whitening gel. I use my kit for 16 minutes a day, just 3 days a week, and it works to dramatically improve the whiteness of my smile. Thank you, Primal Life Organics. Please ask the Dalai Lama if this product is right for you. And if he says yes, then just go to naturalteethwhiteners.com/JP to get yours. And at that link, you'll get a full 60% off. Enjoy.